You'd think the happiest day of your college life would be graduation, right? The cheers, the caps in the air, the proud parents snapping blurry photos like it's the Oscars. But no. For me, it started with a bruised knee, a ruined latte, and the biggest jerk I'd ever met. Let me rewind. That morning, I needed a moment of calm before the chaos of graduation. So I went to my favorite park, coffee in hand, earbuds in, feeling cute in my black tank top and leggings. Yes, I was risking grass stains, but whatever. I was walking toward my favorite bench when he came out of nowhere, literally jogging like the world owed him space. One second I was vibing to Ariana, and the next, I was flat on the ground with my coffee dripping down my thigh. Oh, for the love of I groaned, trying to wipe myself off. A tall, muscular guy in all black gym wear hovered above me, breathing hard. He had sharp cheekbones, tanned skin, dark eyes that looked like they could read your secrets, and a jawline that could cut steel. But instead of apologizing, this idiot just blinked at me. "You should watch where you're going," he said coolly. "Excuse me?" I was standing still. "You barreled into me like a human bulldozer." He gave me a look, like I was overreacting. "Are you hurt?" "I'm not dying, but my coffee is." I got up, limping slightly, and brushed past him. He didn't even say sorry. Not once. Just nodded, turned, and jogged away like I was a minor inconvenience in his billionaire action movie life. Yeah, billionaire. I didn't know that at the time, but oh, I was about to. Fast forward to graduation. I was sitting in the second row, cap slipping off my curls, mascara surviving the emotional speeches. My mum was crying 2 rows behind me, and I was desperately trying not to. Then our dean stepped up to the mic. "We are honored today to welcome our distinguished commencement speaker, Mr. Zayn Al-Fahad, CEO, philanthropist, investor, visionary." I clapped politely like everyone else. Then I looked up, and I froze. It was him, Park Jerk. The same tall, arrogant, ridiculously hot man who ruined my morning and my latte was now striding onto the stage in a perfectly tailored navy suit, looking like he'd just walked off a GQ cover. His dark hair was slicked back, sunglasses off, and those same intense eyes scanned the crowd. He paused when they landed on me. No way. He recognized me. He smirked. I scowled. His speech began. Something about chasing dreams, the power of youth. Blah, blah, blah. I was too busy trying not to throw my program at him. Everyone else was swooning over his accent and his smile. Not me. I wasn't buying it. That man could sell dreams in a bottle and girls would line up. But not this girl. I saw what was behind that charming facade. And yet, as he spoke, he kept glancing at me. Like I mattered. Like he wanted to say something more. But whatever it was, I wasn't ready to hear it. Not yet. The reception was in full swing, banners flapping, music playing, parents getting emotional over half-eaten cupcakes. I was doing my best to blend into the chaos. A paper plate of soggy pasta in one hand, my heels already regretting their life choices. All I wanted was to take a few photos, hug my professors goodbye, and maybe pretend the morning's park disaster never happened. But fate? She had other plans. There he was, Zayn Al-Fahad, standing like a misplaced Greek god under a banner that read "Congrats, class of 2025. Talking to the dean, looking completely out of place, and yet owning the room. Tall, flawless, and still oozing that untouchable billionaire arrogance that made me want to either slap him or kiss him. Probably both. When our eyes met across the lawn, it was like the air changed. Static, charged, uncomfortable, and totally unavoidable. I tried to pivot and disappear toward the snack table. But nope. Life isn't that kind. We ended up face to face near the refreshments. Again. Twice in one day, he said, lifting a brow. I must be cursed. Or blessed. I rolled my eyes. Let's go with cursed. Still mad about the park? His voice was smooth, low, teasing. Still pretending you did nothing wrong? I shot back, grabbing a napkin like it was a weapon. His smile barely twitched, but something in his eyes, curiosity, amusement, flickered. You always this dramatic? Only when billionaires think they're above saying sorry. He stepped slightly closer, and I stood my ground. The tension between us was ridiculous. Like we were two sworn enemies pretending to play nice at a wedding reception. You have fire, he said under his breath, eyes scanning mine. Most people around me play nice. I leaned in just enough so only he could hear me. Yeah, well, I don't play. For a second he just stared at me. Like I was a puzzle that didn't come with instructions. And for some reason, he liked that. But I didn't trust that look. Not one bit. Before he could say another word, I turned on my heel and walked away. No dramatic hair flip, I wasn't trying that hard. But I made sure he knew I wasn't impressed. Because I wasn't, not by the suit, not by the face, and definitely not by the money. Zayn Al-Fahad might have been the world's youngest billionaire, or whatever title Forbes gave him this year. But to me, he was just the arrogant jerk who spilled my coffee, didn't say sorry, and was now staring at me like I was his next investment. But I wasn't buying it. Not yet. You know that feeling when you tell yourself you're done with someone? Like, emotionally unavailable, cold turkey, never speaking again done. Yeah, that was me with Zayn Al-Fahad. Or at least it was. Until 3 days after graduation, when a cream-colored envelope showed up at my apartment, smelling faintly like expensive cologne and trouble. I recognized the logo instantly. Al-Fahad Group. I stared at it for a whole 10 minutes before finally tearing it open. Inside? An invitation, Ms. Dani Rivera. You are cordially invited to a private alumni reception at the Pendleton Hotel, hosted by Zayn Al-Fahad in honor of this year's graduating class. Cocktail attire. 7 p.m. There was a handwritten note at the bottom. In case you want to argue some more. Z.A. cocky, infuriating, and weirdly charming. I should have tossed it into the trash and moved on with my life. I should have called my best friend Julie and ranted about how rich guys think they can buy people's time with embossed stationery and hotel buffets. But instead, I stared at my reflection that night, smoothing down a black dress I hadn't worn since sophomore formal, wondering why the hell my stomach felt like a blender on high speed. The Pendleton was all glass chandeliers and polished marble floors. I walked in feeling underdressed and overwhelmed, surrounded by grads in cocktail dresses and suits. Laughter echoing through the room like some fancy dream sequence. Everyone was busy sipping champagne and talking about internships, but my eyes were scanning for him. And of course, there he was. Zayn, leaning against the bar like a scene from some dangerously attractive novel. No tie tonight, just an open-collar white shirt. Sleeves rolled to the forearms and that same maddening calm. Like he knew I'd show. You came, he said when I approached. I blamed the free food. I lied. He smirked, then offered me a glass of champagne. I didn't take it. You throw parties for all your victims? I asked. Only the ones who haunt me a little. That threw me off. I narrowed my eyes. What's that supposed to mean? He stepped closer, voice lower now. You stood up to me. Twice. Most people don't even look me in the eye. I'm not most people. He nodded. I know. That's why I wanted to see you again. There it was, unexpected honesty. And damn it, it got to me. I tried to keep my face unreadable. So what now? You say something poetic. I pretend to fall for it. And you disappear back into billionaire land. No, he said quietly. I ask you to dance. My heart skipped. I hated that it did. But I couldn't help it. The music shifted, soft jazz now, easy and slow. He extended a hand. And like the idiot I pretend not to be, I took it. We danced. It wasn't magical, not in the fairy tale sense. My heels hurt, my heart was racing, and I was overthinking everything. But it was real. His hand rested lightly on my back. Our eyes locked, the world humming softly around us. And for a second, I forgot about the park, about the attitude, about every reason I shouldn't like him. And I just felt, I don't know what you're trying to prove, I whispered. He looked down at me, something unreadable in his expression. Neither do I. But I know I'm not done with you yet. Dangerous words, dangerous man. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to find out what came next. But deep down, I wanted to. I thought it would end after the dance. One moment, one night, then back to reality. But Zayn Al-Fahad didn't do casual disappearances. He did follow-ups. So when I got a text the next morning that simply said, "Breakfast? Dress casual. I'll pick you up at 9. I stared at it for 5 minutes, chewing on my thumbnail like a lunatic. Julie, of course, screamed when I showed her. You're going, right? I mean, Dani, come on, he's giving mystery-rich, slow-burn heartache. I'm giving sane and skeptical. I shot back, but I went. Because part of me wanted to know if there was anything real underneath all that money, mystery, and maddening confidence. So I threw on jeans, a white tee, and sneakers, zero makeup, hair down. If he was looking for a doll, he'd be disappointed. He wasn't. Zayn showed up in a black SUV, dressed in jeans and a black Henley that fit him entirely too well. He took one look at me, smiled like I was a surprise he liked, and opened the door. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere I can breathe, he said. That somewhere turned out to be a quiet waterfront 2 hours from the city. A place with no press, no staff, no cameras. Just a local cafe, a rocky shore, and gulls that screamed like toddlers. He ordered us Turkish coffee and simit, and for the first time since I met him, he relaxed. I used to come here when I was in college, he said, looking out at the water, before everything got loud. You were normal once? I teased, sipping the strongest coffee I've ever tasted. He chuckled. No. I was always weird, obsessed with numbers, always calculating. So, you didn't want to rule the world. He gave me a crooked smile. Not until the world pissed me off. I studied him for a moment. His jaw was tense, eyes darker now, like that one sentence carried weight he rarely showed. What happened? I asked softly. He looked at me for a long time, then leaned back on his hands. My father died when I was 19. Overnight, I became the CEO of a company I didn't ask for. The board hated me. The media laughed. I was too young, too Arab, too unpredictable. So I built something bigger, just to shut them up. I was quiet, because damn. And because now I saw it, the boy beneath the billionaire, the scar behind the smirk. You know, I said, for a guy who thinks he's untouchable, you're surprisingly real. He glanced sideways at me, eyes narrowing. And for a girl who says she doesn't care, you're still here. Touché. I turned away, letting the ocean wind tangle my hair. I don't know what this is, I admitted. You crash into my life, literally show up everywhere. Say cryptic things, and now I'm eating sesame bread with you like it's normal. Zayn didn't say anything for a moment. Then, it's not normal, he said. But it feels right. And somehow, I hated that I agreed. We spent the rest of the day walking, talking, throwing rocks into the water like teenagers who didn't carry the weight of different worlds on their backs. He even helped me climb a giant driftwood log, holding my hand like I was made of something rare. When he dropped me home that night, he didn't kiss me. He just looked at me for a long time and said, "I'll see you soon." And I knew this wasn't just a game anymore. This was something. And I wasn't sure if that scared me more or thrilled me. I wasn't the girl who got tangled up in billionaires. I was the girl who worked 2 jobs to pay for textbooks, who skipped spring break to help mom with rent. Romance for me had always been a daydream I shoved into a dusty corner of my brain. But after that day with Zayn, that dusty corner started glowing. He didn't text me for 2 days, and I hated how much I noticed. I kept telling myself it was fine. We were from different planets. This was probably just a rich man's whim, a temporary fascination with the girl who dared to roll her eyes at him. Then, on Friday night, just as I was getting into pajamas, a message popped up. "I'm downstairs." I froze. No warning. No butterflies, just a full-blown stampede in my chest. I threw on a jacket, slipped into sneakers, and ran down the steps of my apartment. There he was, leaning against that same SUV, hands in his coat pockets, looking like trouble in a dark turtleneck and smirk. "Are you always this spontaneous?" I asked, hugging my arms. "Only when I can't stop thinking about someone," he said simply. My brain glitched. He stepped closer, slowly, like he didn't want to spook me. I couldn't sleep. And all I kept thinking was I'd rather be losing sleep next to you than without you. And just like that, my walls cracked. "Zayn?" I started, unsure where I was going with it. But he shook his head. "I'm not asking for forever, Dani. I just want tonight. No titles, no pressure. Just you and me. Somewhere quiet." I should have said no, but instead I nodded. He took me to a penthouse, not the kind you see in movies. All glass and cold edges. This one was warm. Wooden floors, stacks of books, a turntable spinning something slow and jazzy in the corner. "This is your place?" I asked, stunned. "One of them," he said, shrugging. "But this one's mine. I don't let anyone in here." The weight of those words pressed on me. He poured me tea. Yes, tea, not wine. And we sat on a plush couch, our knees brushing. The air between us was charged, heavy, waiting. "I don't trust easy," I admitted, eyes on my cup. "I don't either," he said. "But I trust you." I looked at him then, really looked. And something in me, something raw and restless, leaned in before I could stop it. His hand cupped my jaw gently, almost like he was asking for permission. I gave it, tilting my head, and then he kissed me. Not rushed. Not arrogant. Just slow. Deep, honest. And that kiss? It broke something in me. Suddenly, I wasn't scared of what this was. I wasn't thinking about the odds, the headlines, the differences. I was just a girl melting into a man who made her feel like the only heartbeat in the world. He kissed like he had time. Like I wasn't just a passing storm, but a season he wanted to stay in. When we pulled back, our foreheads touched. "I don't know where this is going," I whispered. "Neither do I," he murmured. "But I'm not walking away." And in that moment I believed him, even if part of me still wondered. What would happen when our worlds finally collided? You know that moment when a wave hits you? Not slowly, not gently, but all at once, like it's been waiting for the perfect second to drown you. That was Monday morning. I woke up to 20 unread messages and a phone call from Julie that started with, "Dani, oh my God." I blinked into the sunlight, my voice still groggy. "What? You're trending. What?" "Girl, type your name on Twitter. Or better yet, don't." I sat up, heart hammering, and opened my browser. There it was. Mystery girl seen leaving billionaire Zayn Al-Fahad's private penthouse. Who is she? Paparazzi shots. Blurry but damning. Me, in my jacket and sneakers, standing outside the SUV. Zayn behind me, his hand on my lower back. We looked close. Too close for the narrative to stay quiet. Sources say she's a recent graduate. Some claim she was at the alumni reception. Others are calling her the ordinary girl who stole the sheik's heart. I wanted to scream. The article didn't even use my name at first, but that didn't stop the internet from digging. Within hours, they had my full name, graduation year, my LinkedIn, and even my mom's Facebook. Julie showed up at my apartment without warning, holding bagels and a face full of panic. "They know everything," she whispered. "I mean everything. People are dissecting your major, Dani." "What do I do?" I asked, pacing. "Do I go into hiding? Post a statement? Pretend it didn't happen?" Before she could answer, my phone buzzed again. "Zayn, don't panic. I'm handling it. I should have warned you this could happen. Stay inside. I'll come to you." But it was too late. By that afternoon, my professors were asking questions. My inbox was full of media requests. And some lowlife I hadn't spoken to since high school DM, ed me saying, "Hey, remember me? Wanna do an interview together?" I was spiraling. Then he showed up. Zayn walked into my apartment like a storm dressed in tailored black suit. His jaw was tight, his eyes dangerous. Not at me, but at the world. "I'll fix this," he said the second the door closed. "I don't want to be fixed," I shot back, my voice cracking. "I just wanted us. I didn't sign up for headlines." His expression softened and he stepped forward. "I know. And I'm sorry." I crossed my arms. "You live in a world I can't compete with. I'm not polished. I'm not from some royal bloodline. I'm just Dani, from Queens." "I don't want polished," he said. "I want real. I want you." And I believed him. But fear was louder than belief. "I don't think I'm built for this," I whispered. He came closer, reaching for my hands. "Then we build something new. Together. Away from cameras. Away from the noise. Just give me the chance." My eyes locked with his. And suddenly, the fear didn't feel so sharp. Because behind the money, the name, the chaos, Zayn wasn't just a billionaire. He was a man who chose me when he didn't have to. And I wasn't just Dani anymore. I was his Dani. The headlines weren't the story. We were. I didn't pack much. Just a few outfits, my journal, and the uneasy ache of someone about to step out of their old life and into something that made no logical sense but felt like everything. Zayn didn't tell me where we were going. He just said, "Somewhere no one can find us." And I said yes. Call it reckless, stupid, brave, whatever. All I knew was the noise had become too loud, and his hand in mine felt like the only quiet place left in the world. We flew out that night private jet, zero fanfare, just a shadowy pilot named Kareem, and a bodyguard with a scar under his eye who nodded at me like I'd passed some invisible test. When I asked where we were landing, Zayn just smiled and said, "You'll see." We did. Somewhere over the Mediterranean, the city lights disappeared, and hours later, we landed on a private airstrip surrounded by nothing but endless dunes and starlight. A black SUV was waiting. 10 minutes later, we were pulling up to what I can only describe as a desert castle modern architecture meets ancient soul. Palm trees, carved stone walls, glass that reflected the moon like water. "This is one of my homes," he said, watching me soak it all in. "But it's not one I share with many." "This is one of my homes," he said, watching me soak it all in. "But it's not one I share with many." I turned to him. "Why bring me here?" His gaze held mine. "Because I want you to see me. Not the man in the magazines, not the billionaire. Just the boy who never quite belonged." "I was 8 when I realized I'd never be free," he said quietly, lying beside me on a cushioned bench under the stars. "Every decision had consequences. Every friend had an agenda. And every woman," he paused, "wanted the last name, not the man." I looked over at him. His silhouette was soft in the moonlight, but his voice carried weight. "I'm not like them," I whispered. "I know." He turned to me, brushing a lock of hair from my cheek. "I don't want this to be an escape, Dani. I want it to be a beginning." My heart skipped. "Are you saying this is serious?" I asked, voice small. He didn't hesitate. "Yes." And then he kissed me. Not like the first time. Not like the soft, uncertain one that whispered, "I want you." This kiss was deeper. Possessive. It said, "You're mine now." And even scarier. It said, "I'm yours too." That night, we stayed wrapped up in each other. No labels, no cameras, no doubts. Just a girl from Queens and a man with the world at his feet, trying to remember what it felt like to belong to something true. But even as I fell asleep in his arms, one thought stayed with me. What happens when we leave this perfect place and the world comes knocking again? New York was colder than I remembered. Not the weather, the air. The stares. The whispers. The fact that I couldn't walk into a coffee shop without someone pointing, or worse, pretending not to look while holding their phones in that weird low-angle stalker way. The day I got back, someone had already written "Gold Digger" under one of my old Instagram photos. Real creative. My mom had already called twice, asking what was happening. Julie offered to let me stay with her, and I nearly said yes. But I didn't, because I needed to face it. All of it. Zayn didn't fly back with me. He had to stay behind to clean up a few things. His voice over the phone was reassuring, calm, warm, steady. "I'm making moves, Dani. Things that matter. Just hold on a little longer." I had no idea what he meant, until the press conference. It was streamed live across every major channel. There he was, standing at a podium in London, his suit flawless, voice like thunder. I've made decisions in the past based on strategy, family pressure, and image. But today, I'm making one based on something rare: truth. He looked straight into the camera. "Yes, I'm in a relationship. Yes, she's not royalty or a business merger. She's a woman I admire, respect, and love. And if that costs me deals or endorsements, so be it. My name is Zayn Al-Fahad, and I don't run from love." Cue the media explosion. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. People were either outraged or obsessed. One tabloid wrote, "Zayn's Cinderella. how a grad school girl won the Desert King's heart. Another said I was manipulating him with humble girl charm. Gross. But the craziest part, for once I didn't care. Because for the first time in my life, someone had chosen me publicly, loudly, recklessly, and I was done hiding too. I showed up at an alumni event that week, not in designer clothes or borrowed luxury, but in a jeans and a black top and sneakers. People watched, whispered, and I smiled right through it, because I knew something they didn't. This wasn't a scandal. It was the start of something bigger than both of us. The park was quieter than usual that afternoon, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows across the pathways. I stood by the fountain, watching the water ripple, as memories from months ago rushed back. This was where I'd first met him, or rather, where he'd first pissed me off. I never could have imagined that the cocky billionaire who looked at me like I was just another distraction would become the man who turned my world upside down. It had been weeks since Zayn's press conference, and the media storm was still swirling, though the worst of it had passed. He'd made good on his promise, making moves bold, game-changing moves, proving to the world he wasn't just the businessman they wanted him to be, but a man who made decisions for himself. For us, I felt a light touch on my shoulder and turned, my breath catching in my throat. Zayn. He looked the same powerful, magnetic, but there was something softer in his eyes, a vulnerability he'd never shown before. And I realized it wasn't just because of everything the world had thrown at us. It was because, deep down, he was scared. He'd built his empire on control, but with me, he had to surrender. I smiled, a little teasing. You finally made it, huh? He grinned, stepping closer. You didn't think I'd leave you hanging, did you? I laughed, shaking my head. I didn't know what to expect anymore. After everything. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, his fingers trembling slightly. The moment was surreal. My heart skipped. I wasn't prepared for this. I don't have the perfect words, Dani. I never have. But I know one thing, I don't want to live another day without you by my side. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. I gasped. Zayn, are you... Marry me, he said, his voice low, but sure. Make me the luckiest man alive. I stood there, staring at him in disbelief. 1,000 emotions rushing through me. We had been through so much already. There was no more hiding, no more pretending. We were, whether the world accepted us or not. And then I realized, for the first time, I didn't care what anyone else thought. This was my choice. Our choice. Yes, I whispered, my voice cracking with emotion. Yes, I'll marry you. He laughed, a sound that felt like the whole universe exhaled in relief, and slid the ring onto my finger. It sparkled in the fading sunlight as he pulled me close, kissing me like it was the only thing that made sense in a world full of chaos. When we pulled away, I rested my forehead against his. Do you think it's crazy?